My name is Serena Severance, and I'm one of the software trainers with Leapfrog Technologies, which is the company that developed and maintains the Courseleaf suite of software. So I'm happy to be here today to talk with you about CIM, which is Curriculum Inventory Management. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm happy to take questions as we go. So you're welcome to either add those to the chat, or if you want to stop me at kind of a natural pause point and ask a question, feel free. So in order to get to Kim, you're going to use your institutional links, which is going to be umt-next.courseleaf.com. And then you change the relative URL at the end, depending on if you're going to work in courses, programs, miscellaneous admin, or if you're approver. So /course admin /program admin /MISP admin or /Courseleaf /approve. And I'm sure these links will also be made available to you when the time comes for you to be able to edit here. All right, Kim, like I mentioned, is curriculum inventory management. And it consists of several kind of basic parts when we're looking at CIM courses here. So, and this is just a sample. This is not your particular instance. It's going to show you the basic information about a course, subject code, course number, title, course description, things like that. It also has the capability of doing red-green markup so that you can see what's being changed as changes are proposed. So in this example down here, you can see that we're making proposed changes to our course descriptions. So with the red-green markup here, we ensure that this is accessible. So we use the double green underline for additions. We use the single red strike through for subtractions. So in this course description, it originally said management use of accounting data, ... And now it says this is an introduction to management use of accounting data, ... So as you are reviewing these changes, it should make it clear what is being updated. The other thing that Kim will do is that it keeps track of workflow. So there's workflow functionality within Kim, and it also keeps track of who's approving, when they approved, and it will keep the history of that. So it makes it clear and transparent to everybody what the workflow is going to be, what those approval steps are, who is approving. And once a proposal finally reaches the end and is fully approved, it keeps the record of that approval. So let's talk a little bit about terminology. I've mentioned the first one already, workflow. And workflow is the approval process after a course is submitted for review. So it probably makes sense to us. The chair needs to approve a change, then the dean, then a specific committee goes to the registrar to be entered into the SIS, etc. So that's an example of a workflow. Inactivate or terminate means that a course is no longer offered, but the historical record of that still exists. And then third is going to be a help bubble. And this is a screen tip that provides additional information on a particular item in a proposal. So I'll be able to show you some examples of that once we actually get in and look at your forms here in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about the course code lifecycle. So we start out here in the proposed state, and that's where you have this idea for a course that you want to propose. I should add that this also works for programs too. So you have this proposal, you create it, you send it through workflow, it gets approved. Once it's approved, that course is going to be in an active state, and we consider it at rest. So that means that it's available to be offered within the catalog. You can create sections off of it, etc. Any course that's active and at rest, you could also propose edits to. So maybe you need to make a minor change to the course description. You could propose an edit. Once that course has served its useful life, then that's when you can propose an inactivation or a termination. And then that means that course is no longer eligible to be offered. We can reactivate a inactive or terminated course and bring it back to that active status if we need to. So that's kind of our course code life cycle here. Let's talk a little bit more about workflow. So workflow is generated once at the time the proposal is submitted. And that workflow is dependent on certain conditionals within the form. So for example, you might state that your course is going to be an undergraduate course, and that might mean it goes to one committee. But if you choose that it's going to be a graduate course, it might go to a different committee, things like that. So we generate this workflow at the time it's submitted because we look at all the information on the form, and that determines what the workflow is going to be. Your changes or your new proposals determine the steps that it's going to take. You'll notice here that workflow is linear. It's going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. It always goes in order. So we don't send out the notifications to all the approvers at the same time. It must go step by step by step and receive approval to move on. There we go. So workflow is linear here. We're not going to skip steps here. So if the approval went department chair, a department committee, and then on to the dean, the department chair cannot choose to skip the committee in order to go on to the dean. You must go in order of chair, committee, dean, etc. And again, this is just an example. This is not your particular workflow. When a proposal reaches a certain step in workflow, the users that are in that role, so the dean, the chair role, a certain committee role, are going to get a workflow notification email, kind of similar to the one that we see on the screen here. It will let them know what proposal is available for review. It will provide a hyperlink to that approval step so that you can review, and then you'll be able to take action on this particular workflow item. One of the actions that you can take is to roll back a particular item. So generally things are going through workflow in order, like we said, we approve them along, but there may be good reason why at some point in the workflow, something does need to be rolled back to a previous step. So for example, maybe the initiator submits a proposal for a new course, and maybe the department chair is the first one to review it. And when the department chair reviews it, they might say, oh, this does not have enough information to go on to our curriculum committee. And they might roll it back to the initiator and ask for more information. That rollback can happen at any point in the workflow. So that could be from step 1 back to the initiator. It could also be from step 20 all the way back to the initiator or somewhere in between. Note that when a rollback occurs, you then move forward from that point again. So it does not jump ahead to the person who rolled it back, but rather if person 10 rolled it back to step 1, you would again go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4. And that again is the presumed assumption that something has changed about the proposal and needs to be reviewed. All of this is tracked and documented on the KIM forms so that we retain that history forever with the proposal. There's an example of what that might look like on a proposal here. So I mentioned that approvers can take 3 actions One is that they can roll back, which is what we just talked about, and that's the red button in the middle that says roll back, kind of has a little red circle with a negative white line through it. To the left of that is the blue edit button, and it has a piece of paper with a pencil in it. This allows an approver to make changes to a proposal. And then it's kind of up to each institution to determine what the best practice is there. Generally, that's probably for small changes like fixing a spelling correction, things like that. Anything else, you'd probably want to consult with the initiator before making updates. The third option on the right side there is the green approve button. Has a green circle with a white plus sign in it there. And that means that you're giving the thumbs up to the proposal or your signature to the proposal and continuing it along. Within our workflow, we can also have FYI steps, so for your information, and that is going to send a notification to certain parties at a particular point, letting them know that this proposal is in process. But the proposal does not stop at that step. It keeps going. Okay. So this is kind of an overview of kind of the basic fundamentals, but let's actually get into Kim and take a look at what things can do here. So I'm going to switch over to your site. So I'm currently on your catalog homepage, and we're going to start on that course admin. So from your main URL for that for the next site for catalog, we would add /course admin at the end here. I will highlight that my URLs that I am using today are different from the ones you will be using, and that is because I, as a Leapfrog employee, am not credentialed in the UMT system. So we have a different way of accessing there. So course admin, course inventory management here is where we're going to start. So let me talk a little bit about the search in here. We would be very tempted when we start a search to kind of do the same way we would on Google and just type in something like biology and hit enter. And you notice that it didn't find any results. Well, that isn't because you don't have any biology courses. I'm certain that you do. It is because you don't have any biology courses where biology, without anything before or after it, is the course code, or where it is the title. So in order to find things, what we actually want to be doing is using an asterisk. So the asterisk serves as a wildcard here, and that's what this is saying up in the top. And it's going to look for anything with biology at the start, followed by any other characters. So if we click on search now, we're going to find a few other courses. I could also switch this to the front, and I will find courses where biology is the last in the statement in the title. I can also put the asterisk on both sides, and it is going to come up with biology anywhere within the phrase, including at the end or at the beginning. So remember the asterisk. It's kind of your best friend here when we're doing a search. It also allows us to do a search by shorter than a full word. So like if we're looking for anthropology, we could put in ANTH, and we're going to get the subject code ANTH. We'll also get titles that have anthropology in them. I could also search for the anthropology subject code, and it's going to find all of the course codes that have ANTY in them, as well as any titles that might have ANTY in them. So it's possible farther down we might see some things that would match that, though it looks like we've mostly hit on the course code here. So again, we're searching the course code column, the title column, and we're also even searching this workflow column. Now, you all don't have anything in workflow yet, but I can show you on our LilyPad U site here how that works. So let me navigate to our lily pad university, which is for us leapfroggers here. So I'm going to go into course admin here. And we have quite a few things that are in workflow over here. So if I were to search by, say, registrar here, oops, got my asterisk, or I might not have anything in that step. Hang on a second. Let's change to, there was a chair step for sure, I thought. I think it was the ACC chair. There we go, ACC chair, so the accounting chair. Now we can see that it's pulled up everything that's in workflow for that particular step. So it's searching across all of these here. I'm going to go back to yours now. Note that you can also search for a course directly. So if you know the subject code and course number, so like I do for this particular course, I can just put that in and hit enter, and it's going to find only that course here in the search. Okay, so let's take a look here. Oh, the sort. I neglected to show you the sort, so let me do that real quick. So when you have a list, you can sort by these here. So if I click on title, it's going to alphabetize by title. I can click again and I can reverse alphabetical that. So that can be handy sometimes. Let's go back to our anthropology, our statistics course here. There we go. And let's kind of take a look at what we're seeing with this course information here. So as we start to scroll down a little bit, the first thing that we're going to see is it's going to clearly tell us what course we're viewing. So we're going to see the subject code, course number, and title here. What follows that immediately is what we call the ecosystem. So everything that's in this first gray box here is considered the ecosystem. And this is showing you how this course is used throughout what Courseleaf knows about. So as you can see here, it's saying catalog pages referencing this course. So if we were to click on one of these degrees, it's going to take me to that catalog page. And I should be able to, if I'm scrolling through the course list here, find where this particular course is used in that program's requirements. I can also, it will reference programs once we have those migrated, so that's coming up soon. It would also mention if this course is used as a prerequisite for something else, if it's referenced in the course description, I believe. So it's using all of this information that it has about this particular section. We do this because we feel it is very important that users have a clear picture of what they're impacting if they make a change to a course. So if you think about a course, that is used across departments that you would make a change in, it would be really important to see how many majors are using that course and what courses that's a prerequisite for. I could very much see something like a statistics course being a prerequisite for a lot or used across departments, etc. So this ecosystem is very handy for that. All of these are going to be links and it will pop you out to the appropriate place in either CAT, which is the catalog, or within KIM courses or programs. So once we get past this ecosystem here, we're going to scroll on down, and this is where we're going to see more of our course information here. So now it's pulling in the information that Kim knows about it from Banner, from your SIS. So we're pulling in subject code, course number, title, department, all of that good stuff, course description, etc. You'll notice that some of these areas are blank, and many of them may be because that is data that you will be collecting in KIM. And until this proposal is modified, we may not have information for particular sections in this proposal. So you can just scroll all the way to the bottom to see what information you're looking for. You are allowed to view any course, so you could look at this for a course in another department if it's helpful, but certainly looking at your own and working in your own courses here. So now that we come back to the top again, let's take a look at some of these buttons at the top that I skipped over initially. I'll move these up to the middle of the screen here. We'll start on the left. So the first one I want to talk about is this big red terminate button. I also referenced this as inactive when I was kind of introducing this concept. This is if we want to propose a termination for this course. It's no longer going to be offered. I want to assure you that by clicking terminate, that does not immediately inactivate it. It will pop open this proposal to make changes here. And we can put in an end term for when we're no longer going to be offering this. We would choose to justify our request here, and then we'd want to submit this to start workflow. And I'm realizing I'm logged in as an administrator right now, so this blue admin save button is not something that's going to be there. You would just have the cancel button and the start workflow button here. So this is what we'd want to do here to put this through. It would go through that workflow process, be reviewed, be approved for termination. So let's say that I just hit the start workflow button now. Let me show you what's going to happen. Now notice I have not put any data in this form. It's going to tell me that one or more of the fields has not been completed and that I need to enter an effective term. So, and there it's blinking away at me. Any field that has this red box around it is required. That's something you have to fill out to be able to submit. In many of the forms, there will be things that are not required, but the required fields you absolutely do have to fill out to submit. In this case, I don't want to actually submit a termination, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the cancel button here, and it's going to take me back. If I wanted a simple one-page sheet on this particular course, I could export it to PDF, and it's going to pull out the information that we have about the course. This PDF does not pull in any fields that do not have information, so that will not be there. So that can be handy for some people here. So I'm going to click on close for that, come over to the right side, and I'm going to click on this link for preview workflow. So this is what's going to show us what the workflow is going to be for this particular proposal. And we can see here that this is going to start off by going to the chair, then to the dean, then to ASCRC, faculty senate, common course numbering review to the registrar, then it goes to banner, and then you as the initiator would get an FYI. Now this workflow, like I mentioned before, can change. So if we go in here and we propose, something about this course that, we want to make it general ed or something like that, we may add steps to the workflow because of that. But any step here that has an FYI is a notification only step. So you won't see those in the workflow list on the right-hand side when we submit something to workflow here. But you can see who's in a particular role, so you know, as the anthropology chair, these are the two individuals who are being contacted, etc., etc. So let's talk about editing courses. So we've seen all this information. Let's actually use this green edit course button, because this is what would allow us to propose a change here. So this is going to pop open our course inventory form, which allows us to make edits here. So as we would come through here, many of these things are already populated, but I always recommend to go from top to bottom on the form, even if you think you just have one change. Because I might say, oh, I just need to amend the course description, but we might miss some things that are important. For example, here, the effective term is always going to be blank when you initially start to edit a proposal. And so you do need to select the effective term here. So autumn 2023 in this example. And then I could come down here, make whatever changes I need to. You see justification has the red box around it here. I'd need to fill that out, etc. High impact practices has our first example of a help bubble. So you remember we talked about that in the beginning. So it's this little blue circle here with the white exclamation mark. If you hover over it, it's going to show you what that help bubble text is or what the URL is. So if I click on that, it's going to pop open a PDF with information about this particular field so that you can make an informed selection within this field here. So we'll see help bubbles in other spots on the form, including the Common Course Numbering Review, which will take you out to a website that you can utilize to be prepared to answer that question, etc. So I come through here, I'd make my changes, and again, I come to the bottom, and I'm going to be able to start that workflow. I'm going to click on cancel again. We're going to go through this a little bit more, but in the sense that I want to start by proposing a new course here. So let's say that I'm in the anthropology department. I'm interested in offering a new course. I'm going to come up here to the top and choose the option for propose new course. I'm going to click on that here, and that's going to open this proposal in a new window. Now, there are a couple things that I can do. I can certainly go through and start this proposal, build it from scratch. So I could go in here, find the anthropology subject code, etc. I could come over here, use this course numbers in use widget, and I could look for an available course number. So we can see that maybe ANTI 130 isn't being offered yet. So I could choose that and put that in here and proceed to filling out my form. The other thing that I could do is propose new from existing. So this can be really handy if you have a substantial enough change to the course to merit a new course number, but you need to copy over some of the existing information. So I can click propose new from existing, and this course picker widget is going to pop open. We can select our college here, select our subject code, and then I could choose the course that I want to utilize as my base. So maybe I want anthropology and global health to be my kind of base course here. And I could go ahead and click add selected. And that is going to pull in that course information here. And we're going to kind of have this as a basis. So I could come in here now and change my title. So we could say, maybe we're going to say global health trends. And I could make my updates here and continue on. Again, let's kind of take a look at some of the fields that we have available to us. You're already noticing that a lot of these are drop downs and select. Certain things are going to default in here based on your choices. We have things like the credit field here where you're going to put in a numeric number. We have yes, no radio buttons here. So like they're repeatable. If we choose yes, then we have some conditional logic here that's showing us that if we say the course is repeatable, we now need to choose the maximum credits that are available. So maybe I would say 6. Maybe they could take this twice, for example. If I choose no, that maximum credit goes away. So again, this is kind of why I recommend working from the top to the bottom, because that logic works best if you go through the form in order. When you reach a box that looks like this is going to be a field where we can type in text. So I could say that my prerequisite, is ANTI 101, for example. Maybe I would put that in there. Fields that look like this and have the little green plus sign, when you click on the plus sign, that's going to pop open a widget to help you select the appropriate data point here. So in this case, for co-requisites, if I click the green plus sign, it's going to pop open this picker again. So I could come in here and choose my subject code, course number, and I could say that they also need to take the other anthropology class at the same time and say add selected here and click on close. If I needed to delete this, I could use the red X. We have checkboxes here, like this is a multi-select, so we could do one term, multiple terms, etc. Course description and justification, again, are examples of text boxes here. If these get pretty big, you can drag them a little bit bigger if you want to see everything that you've typed all in one screen here. So we could do that. General ed requirement, again, something that we could choose. You notice here on the right-hand side, my cursor just went up, and that's because the form expanded below with things that we would need to fill out here, etc. Learning outcomes, again, another example of where we could type in our course learning outcome here. Click the green plus sign. I could add in my second CLO here, etc. If I need to remove one, I'm going to click the red X. Let's see if there's anything else I should highlight in terms of function of the form that I haven't covered yet. We have more yes/no bubbles. We have more sections here where we could add our impacted departments, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make notes here that this is my test. So I am going to shred this proposal when I'm all done here. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. And notice that we now have this proposal where the changes are saved but not yet submitted. And that means that we can allow someone else to come in here and continue, or I can go off and teach my class and come back and pick up this proposal later. So I don't have to finish this all in one session. And that comes in really handy because sometimes, you know, you start out really strong with things and then you'll get down into particular questions and you're like, ooh, I need to confer with my colleague on that, or ooh, I need some additional information to successfully fill out whatever portion of the form. So that Save Changes button is really handy. And when we're ready, we can come back in here and continue our edits. We could also preview our workflow now, see if anything else has changed. We noticed we added a committee step now that we know what level this course is, etc., etc. So that's how we can make our changes here. I could once again click on Edit Course. It's going to pull in all the information exactly as I had it. I can continue my work from here and keep going. Okay, let's see here. Sure, I covered what I wanted to on new. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about workflow. And for this portion, I'm going to switch over to LilyPad U in just a second so we could actually move things through workflow. With this course, you remember at the bottom, when we're completely done, we're going to click on this green Start Workflow button here. And then that is going to submit that proposal to workflow and notify the first person in the workflow step. So I'm going to come over here to LilyPad U, and we're going to go take a look at things that are in workflow. So I'm going to switch over to Courseleaf /approve, which is the approval queue here. And we're going to find a proposal that is currently in workflow for courses. So we have let's see. Yeah, this one should work. Okay, so we have a proposal here for Principles of Managerial Accounting that has been submitted to workflow. We can see as we scroll down here, we can see the approval steps in workflow. So this box is showing us not the FYIs, it only shows us the approval steps here. And we can see it's currently sitting in the ACC chair role. It's going to go on to the curriculum committee chair, then to the registrar, and then to Banner. So I, as the ACC chair, can come in here. I can look through. I can see the small updates that have been made to the course description. And maybe I'm like, great, fantastic, no problem. So I would come over here and I'm going to click on the approve button here. And it's going to process and it's going to say approved here in just a moment. Hopefully. LilyPad U sometimes goes a little bit slower than our live site since this is just a demo site. There we go, approved. So I'm going to refresh my list now and change my proverbial hat, and I'm going to be the Business Curriculum Committee Chair. So I've just gotten an email that tells me that this proposal is ready to review. I'm going to come into my queue, and I'm going to see that this managerial accounting course is now is now in my queue. So once again, I can come in here. I have the same options. This time I see the approval path here. And that is showing me that I am able to, or what time rather, sorry, I approved that, date and time. There we go. I again am seeing that same red-green markup. So let's say that as the curriculum committee chair, we need to make a little bit of edit as the curriculum committee has reviewed it. I could choose that edit button. It's going to pop open that same window just like we've been seeing, and I could make the updates here. So maybe I feel like the short title is not what we need it to be. I could add a little bit more info here. Come down to the bottom, click on Save Changes, and let's see effective dates. There we go. Not repeatable. Save changes. And this is now ready to move on. So now I can click on approve again, and this is going to go to the registrar step. And it will take a second here. I'm going to refresh my list. We'll once again come down to the registrar step, changing my hat here. Now I'm the registrar, and we see this course in the queue. So let's say in this example that the registrar needs more information and is choosing to utilize that rollback option. So I'm going to come over here, click on rollback here, and you can see that I, as the registrar, now have my choice of where I am rolling it back. So I can roll it back to the immediately preceding step, which is the Business Curriculum Committee Chair. I could roll it back to the accounting chair, which was the first step in workflow, or I could even roll it back to the initiator, which in LilyPad U is Tree Frog. So any one of these. So I could say, go back to the Business Curriculum Committee Chair here and say, please note your vote, perhaps. Whatever, we would want this comment or reason to be robust enough for whoever receives that notification to understand what they need to do. We do not allow you to roll back without a comment. That's not something you can do because we want to make sure that we're using workflow to manage this. So the comments are an important part of that. So I'm going to put that here. I'm going to click on rollback. This is going to disappear out of my queue again. I'm going to refresh my list. I'm going to once again come down to the Business Curriculum Committee, find that proposal. And now we can see over here on the right-hand side that this was rolled back. So that is notated here. At the bottom, it's also tracking the comment that it was rolled back. And then I could come in here and make the appropriate change. So once again, I would make an edit. I would do whatever I needed to do here. Committee says yes. Save my changes. Click on approve, etc. So from this point, then what would happen once the registrar approves it is it would go into that banner step in workflow here. And when it's in that banner step is then when that data goes back to the SIS, back to banner here. And there we go. So we'd be ready for bridging at this point. So that's the progression of how workflow works once we submit a course proposal here. So let me kind of pause there. We've gone through a lot of information already, kind of focused on courses, but these same principles are going to apply to programs, and I'll show you that in a minute. Wondering if there are any questions about the course form or the workflow process or any of that. Okay. Well, if things come up, let me know or put it in the chat. So happy to take questions that way. But if you all are good with it, I think we'll move on and start looking at program management. So let's come over here. Now we're going to switch tabs. So I'm back on the University of Montana site now, and we're going to move on over process admin, we're going to be in program admin. So I'll let you know that we're still kind of in the process of finishing the program migration. So we're going to see this note for today on all of these proposals that changes can't be made at this time, but that will soon be resolved and you're going to be able to edit your existing programs. So with programs, we do have a list of all the programs that kind of show up initially, but we can do that same search functionality here. So I could put in my asterisks and start typing Anthro, put in percents on both sides, and I'm going to pull up all of the programs that have Anthro somewhere within the title. So that can help you narrow it down to what you're looking for here. Again, if we knew the exact full name, we could search for that. But generally, the asterisk is going to be what's going to be most helpful here. Normally, well, let me give you kind of an overview of what you're going to see on this page. Very similar to what we were seeing in courses, you're going to be able to see all the details that we have about a particular program. As of right now, again, because they haven't been migrated, we don't really have the details about that yet. Let's kind of take a look by starting with this one in the propose new program functionality here. So if I come up here and click on this button in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to notice this function is very similar to courses. It just has different fields that we need to fill out here. And just like in courses, we can propose new from existing. So this is really handy if, like we saw here with anthropology, there are quite a few variations or concentrations. So maybe you're going to propose a new concentration. You can build it off of an existing one. So we could propose new from existing here. And it's going to come up with my program picker widget. And I can start searching. So this one we can start typing. And maybe we'll use the archaeology as the basis here. So I'm going to choose that one. It's going to copy the program information in here, and I can use this to start. And then I can make my changes here with my concentration in whatever my new concentration is going to be. Again, I have to pick my request type at the top, whatever is appropriate here for that choice. Choose my effective cataloging edition, and I would continue working down the form here, choosing things as appropriate from drop downs, filling in fields like, why, just your justification for this change, etc., etc. I want you to notice that you can attach files here. So this green attach file button does exactly what you would think. We're going to click on that. It's going to open up the File Explorer on your computer. You could choose to attach, a course outline. We'll highlight that over there. That's going to upload it. You could attach a syllabus, a program, justification document, whatever is appropriate to go in this form. And you can add that over here. That will be attached with this proposal, and it stays with this proposal throughout workflow and after the proposal goes to rest after being approved here. So as we are building our new program here, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about adding curriculum in the curriculum section here, so labeled as Appendix A. What we want to do in order to do that is to create a course list here. So I'm going to show you kind of a basic way to do that from scratch. And then your institution will kind of define for you the formatting that this should follow. So when I'm in this curriculum box, and you'll notice that this one looks different from our other boxes, and this is called a page body editor. So it has more features because this section is going to be available to the catalog and is used for publication. So our curriculum for our programs is going to be managed in KIM, but publish out through the catalog here. So the first thing that I'd want to do is add the course list table. And I can do that by coming over here to this table widget, which says Insert, Edit, Formatted Table. And there's going to be a pop-up here. And we're going to choose from the drop-down list. Conveniently, course list is the first one, so you'll just be able to leave that and click on OK here. And it's going to pop open our course list builder here. We'll start by selecting our division, our subject code here, and this is where we can start adding our courses. So the first thing that I would probably do is click on Add Comment Entry, and I'm going to say Core Courses. I'm going to put that up here, and I'm going to make this an area header. And you notice that's making it big and bold. So it's kind of giving me where we're going to start for this particular section. So now we're going to choose things that are required for this major that are part of the core. So maybe I feel like that is ANSI 101. So I'm going to click on that, use the double right arrows and pull it over, and we'll add it to my course list. Maybe that's anthropology and global health. I'm going to pull that over. You notice that my new course that I have not submitted yet is in there. So I could add this to my newly proposed minor that I created this course to be part of, and we could add this here. So now we have a listing of some core courses, and maybe now we want them to be able to choose, well actually let me show you what this looks like first. So I'm going to click on OK here, and we've now pulled back our course list. So you can see it says core courses. It's going to list those 3 courses that we added. We have the hyperlinks here to those courses, and we have the total for each course. But I probably want to total this section, right? So I'm going to double click back in here. I'm going to choose the sum hours option. I'm going to click on OK here, and now we can see my total hours thus far for my program is 9. So now let's add some electives to our program. So I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to add another comment entry for electives. I'll click on OK. And I'm going to choose some things that they could take for an elective here. So I can use those double arrows. I can also double click. So I'm going to double click here. We're going to say they can take culture and society, intro to archaeology, foundations of civilization, human evolution. So we'll start with 4 there. So now we have our electives. And I'm going to make this an area header again. And I am going to click on OK. And when I do, now we see that my list has gotten longer here. I have my electives. They are each worth 3 credits, which is fantastic. And now I've got a new problem because it's totaled 24. I only needed them to pick 2 of these electives. So I'm going to show you how we're going to fix that. So I'm going to come back in here, and under electives here, if I scroll down, what I want to do is indent each of those courses. And by indenting it, that is going to make it so that this is considered part of a grouping rather than a standalone course here. So I've indented all 5. I'm going to come back to the electives header, and I'm going to put in the number of hours that this needs to be. So I'm going to say 6 here, and I'm going to click on OK. And now we can see that this is indented. It says electives for 6 credits. We have our list we can choose from, and 9 plus 6 is 15. So we have our correct total hours here. So we could come back in here and continue building if we wanted to. One thing I did want to show you, a couple things to show you here. Things like independent study have a range of hours. So you could say that they do need to take a specific number of hours if you wanted. And that would be, I remember my formatting here. Let me double check and confirm I'm correct. I think I did that backwards. There we go. Okay, that was what it was. Okay, so independent study. This is variable credit 1 to 6, right? So what I did is I came here at the front in hours and I said 3 : So this course is still variable 1 to 6, but maybe they need 3 total hours of independent study, which they could do 1 3 credit, 3 1 credit, etc. for that. So they could do that here. Another thing would be that if you have classes that they need to take in sequence, let's see if we have a good example here of sequential courses. Yeah, so let's say that this data analysis and the quantitative field methods are things that they need to take in sequence. I could add 401 here, and then I could do in this sequence field, I could add 402. So let me add that here. So ANSI 402, click on OK. And now you're going to see that those are listed as and. This shows up in a red box, and that's because I have selected an invalid credit total. And that's because we're adding these together. So I would just come back in here. I would change the hours to 6 because it's going to be 6 total hours for both course, etc. So this is kind of just a very light overview of what you can do with course lists. There's a lot that you can kind of do. The formatting, like I mentioned, is going to be dictated for you by your team here. But this kind of gives you a basic overview of the course list. Are there any questions about that feature?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
We just proposed a new degree, and we actually have core for the college, and then we have core for the degree. So can we, split those up? And we have electives for the college and electives for the degree. So can we get pretty granular in this area?
Yeah, and Troy, maybe this might be, do you want to talk a little bit about formatting at this point for your institution?
Yeah. Can you clarify what you mean by core for the college versus core for the degree?
Yeah, so I'm in the College of Business. We're proposing a new degree in cybersecurity. So there's some core courses that they need to take in the College of Business. And then there's some core courses that they need to take in the MIS area. And in both of those, they have the ability to take electives too. So there's really kind of, and even in the College of Business, we have upper core and lower core. So if you haven't taken all of the lower core, you can't start the upper core. If you haven't taken all the upper core, you can't take your capstone. So it's that kind of stuff we have in business.
Yep, now I know exactly what you're talking about. So within all of the College of Business programs, like with each of, with each major, the core appears on each program page. And so that core will also appear in this program page. And you can really format it any way you want. I mean, that'll be a negotiation between us and how that's structured, but it'll probably end up looking pretty similar to the current, all the other College of Business majors. And you can even, like, in between, you can have multiple course lists with text in between them, and things like that. And this will make a lot more sense once we get, like, yeah, she's setting up here. This will make a lot more sense once we get the migration done, and that's something I'm working on, basically going in through every catalog page and defining which parts of that are going to be part of Kim and be editable. And so when you go in to build, like, we go in to build that program, I'll build it based on one of the current business pages. And so it will make sense in the future, and you have a lot of latitude to do whatever you want within that space. Does that answer your question? I feel like
That does. And we have Cami on here too. Hopefully I don't have to put the cybersecurity degree into this. Do
No,
I?
I'll be doing that for you.
Okay. I guess I have another question, maybe directed back at least the workflow that you had for courses. A lot of times we'll work, it's kind of word dependent. So if there's changes, then we do track changes so you can easily see those. So when there's changes in the workflow, are they kind of, colored or formatted so we can easily see what that change is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. I didn't, let me see if I could find a good example of that on LilyPad U. Well, this one sort of works. So view changes by is always going to be an option here when things are in workflow, and you can choose which user you want to see the changes for. So like I can see here that Randy made the update to the course description, removed the effective date. And then if I change here back to me, I can see that I updated the short title. This one's a little bit out of sync, so some of this is not showing exactly as I would expect it to. But essentially, when you do the view changes by, it is showing which user made the changes. Now, that could get a little conflated if you had the same person at different steps in the workflow. You wouldn't necessarily know if they made the change as part of role 1 or role 2, if that makes sense. But it does track changes by user. So you would see that someone went in after it was initially submitted and made additional changes. Yeah, good question. Any other questions at this point? Okay, excellent.
I have a.
So, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Nathaniel Lepto here. I came in just a few moments late. Where on the UM site is the Courseleaf link, or is it up yet? Or are we still waiting?
We haven't posted them yet.
Okay, thank you.
Coming attractions, coming soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your help very much.
Yeah, of course. All right, so we've gone through here, we've proposed our new program. I would be ready to submit this to workflow. So again, just like in courses, I, as an end user, am going to have the option to either save my changes or start workflow. And when I start workflow, that's going to kick it off. I don't actually want to propose this, so I'm going to click cancel and get rid of this entirely here. And we'll go back to our course list here. I'm double checking my objectives. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about miscellaneous admin, which is going to be the third portion of your Kim instance. So this is miscellaneous request admin. For this one, again, we're going to click on propose new miscellaneous, and choosing the request type is going to determine what fields you need to fill out here. So we have 5 options that we could be doing here. Request to plan, the center or research unit, academic or administrative unit, general education designation, and then a retitling for academic or administrative. So as you can see, when I pick one, it comes up with a set of questions that are appropriate for that. If I change it to something else, it's going to change what the options are. Just like before, we have fillable fields that you type in, we have drop downs that you'll select from, check boxes where you can check things, you can attach a file, all of that good stuff. And as always, when you're done, you're going to click on that green Start Workflow button. Any questions about miscellaneous admin here?
So since I just had to do a level 2, is that going to be part of this miscellaneous area, or is that going to be somewhere else?
That is in the course, or the program forms. And if Serena, if you could go to that program form and the drop down. And you'll see that they're establishing a new educational program.
And I guess I have another question. I don't know if Troy might be able to answer this. How soon are we going to start using this?
So for courses, eCur is currently working, so we're probably going to finish out the academic year using eCur. There shouldn't be a ton of those requests coming through for this academic year. And for programs, I mean, Cami, tell me if I'm wrong. It's like for a lot of programs that change, all the proposals that have to go through, the transcard kind of already left the station. So we're looking at, in earnest, starting to use this for the next academic year and the next round. Cami, does that sound about right?
No.
Okay.
We pushed back the deadline so that we can use Courseleaf for any of the level 1, level 2s
Okay.
for this spring. Right now, we could give access to use it for the new proposals, but it's not going to be linked to the current proposals. And so any of the edits to existing programs, we need to hold off until Troy has finished the migration. So we'll probably, I need to talk over this with Troy, but the plan was to have it effective this year. But in terms of that actual date, I'm not clear yet. I was hoping sometime next week.
So just to follow up, so February 24th, is that not the deadline for level 2 proposals, for example, or is it?
That is the deadline. Those have to be submitted in Courseleaf by that date so they can get to the provost office. And then the faculty senate deadline is March 3rd.
So we'll be waiting to get a link for the Courseleaf that will be required to use in order to propose a level 2 proposal that's new in a couple of weeks?
Yes. In the curriculum deadline memo, we had information that you can use the existing Board of Regents forms as a template for what needs to go into Courseleaf, and then you can just cut and paste when the link is available.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I just want to confirm then too, I guess, Troy, for program modifications, and as Sean mentioned too, they will be populated with what the current is, or do we have to repopulate those? And if that's the case, when will they be populated?
Yep. So I'm going to say this. I just sent this as a message to Cami because Cami and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. I only received the training on how to set up the migration between our catalog, the catalog piece, and the curriculum management piece, and it is a much more significant project than not one that is going to be completed in a week, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but Serena, correct me if I'm wrong. There is a spot in Kim that allows you to upload documents
Yes.
for programs. And so one thing that might have to happen following these deadlines is, rather than relying on, and yeah, thank you. So
Some of the
supporting
supporting
documents, there's that,
Yeah.
and rather than relying on this appendix here, which is normally you would go in and you would see all of the program requirements and you would be able to edit them, and there would be inline editing, and it would show me, with like sort of like track changes, it would show me exactly what's being changed, and I would be able to kind of pass that right on into the catalog, and it makes my life so much easier. That migration might not be complete in time for this deadline, so we may have to provide instructions on how to, for you to just, much like you've done in the past, upload a document with either track changes or something. I'd prefer not handwritten, but I'll take it. But you'll get a call for clarifications from me. No problem. But mostly what's been submitted in the past are Word documents with track changes in them. And if that's the way they're submitted, that's just fine, because that's how I'm used to making the changes, and it'll be just a small step in our evolution towards this working kind of more efficiently for everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, makes sense. Perfect.
Can I just clarify? Were you referring to the February 24th deadline and suggesting that things will not be operable, or was that something else? Did I misunderstand?
They'll be operable, but not fully operable in the way that they will be in the future. Just meaning that the migration of, basically, I have to go into all the catalog pages and select the parts of the pages that are editable and that will appear in Kim, or in curriculum management, in the software we're looking at now. And that just may not be there. So we'll have to rely on you uploading like a Word document or a PDF document with track changes on it, so that I'll know what to edit. Does that make sense?
That does. So still Courseleaf, but it may not have all the functionality. So we'll have a document uploadable if necessary.
Exactly.
So
Thanks very much.
we'll get a communication out next week, in terms of what is available and what we might have to do for a workaround. So we definitely want to use the workflow, the approval, the electronic approval that's available in Courseleaf, rather than having you get signatures, because that just takes a lot of time, and we don't want to be tracking paper down.
So I have a question related. I just did all the level 2 stuff, and I use the Board of Regents forms, and the Board of Regents form says, here's how many words. And I had it that many words in Word, and then when I put it into CourseDog, then it was somehow CourseDog counts words different than Word does. So I ended up having to do a lot of editing to get it kind of back down to what CourseDog would take. So this is probably for Serena. How does Courseleaf count the words? If it says that number of words in Word, is Courseleaf doing it the same way?
Yeah. Can you, which field are we looking at where it's the word count?
Well, there's a lot of them from the level 2 form, or the curriculum proposal form from the Board of Regents, that you describe the program, and so those boxes there, yeah. So yours says, so these are
Okay. So this
characters
is
instead of
based on
words,
characters. Yeah.
and I think the CourseDog was similar. So it just it became a little longer process, because the Board of Regents form says the number of words that it needs to be.
Is that a minimum or a maximum?
Maximum.
Okay. Yeah, so this is, it's tracking per characters, and it's a character maximum, including spaces.
So we might need to adjust a little bit, And I was able to, get them edited down, but
Is there an
no.
equation at all that's widely agreed upon in terms of words per characters? How do you make that transition?
I don't know. I just generally rely on Word, or you highlight it and it tells you how many words are there. Um,
So
and
Yes.
you can abbreviate things, and that counts as a word, one word versus if they're all spelled out. So, but it is a different calculation, characters versus words. So there might be some adjustments you're going to have to make.
Serena,
So
is
take it
that
from Word, copy it in there, and see how many characters those words translate to.
Mm-hmm.
Serena, is that a question I might want to send on to Amy and Tim?
I mean, I would say essentially it's going to be up to you all to determine how much you want to allow people to type in the field. And then once you determine that, that's your character maximum.
Right.
I feel reasonably confident in saying that we aren't able to do work or don't do word count. We would only do character count. So, yeah, based on what I'm hearing described, it sounds like internally, and maybe the Board of Regents would need to make a determination of what their character count is and then set the fields accordingly.
I
That's
wish
probably
us luck in
easier
getting
said
that
than
answer
done.
from the Board of Regents. Okay. Well, I guess what I'll do is I'll check in. I can check in and make sure that, like, if you're only using character counts, we'll have to come up with at the very least, a reasonable translation between the two. And then possibly, Cami, see what you think of this, the addition of some form of help bubble near this that says, please count your words in and outside, in Word, and make sure that it complies with the Board of Regents requirements. I mean, I imagine that the board, someone in the provost's office checks over all of these, and I imagine they're going to be checking them closely to make sure that they comply with Board of Regents requirements even in terms of word count. So it's going to be caught one way or another. My worry is looking at this is that it's not enough space based on number of characters. So I just want to make sure that if
I think
you've done a word count in Word and you paste it in here, it's all going to fit,
And that's exactly what the problem you had with Courtstock.
Yeah.
Wasn't this, it was less than the number of words that the Board of Regents form said in order to fit into the form.
Okay.
Mm.
Cool. Yeah, I'll ask some questions about that and make sure that that's going to be okay. I've got an idea of where to go from here.
So I guess I have a question for Serena, and a ton of this work happens outside of the margins of the business day. So is there some sort of internal help with Courseleaf, or are we going to be bombarding Cami and Troy with questions?
Right, after hours. Yes, so I can tell you what we provide essentially out of the box, so to speak. And then, of course, Cami and Troy are probably going to have additional resources available to you. But we have a help site. So I'm going to close out of here. At the top of every single one of the course admin, program admin, is this little help bubble, or this help link here, help and help bubble. And when you click on that, that is going to take you to our LUC site. So LUC is the Leapfrog user community. And this is going to take you to our help pages. By default, it's going to take you to the search and view, which is what we were on for the course. But you can see it's nested under the header Kim. So we could click on Kim and we could look for whatever we need to in here. Now, it's important to keep in mind that this documentation is written on the base level of the software. So there may be things in here that you all do not use that are listed in the help documentation. But if we want to, like we talked about the ecosystem, you want to learn more about that, you could click on that and you're going to see text description of what that is, usually screenshots, things like that. We were doing that course list. So I could come over here to the top and type course list in the search in the top. I happen to know that course list is used in both Cat and Kim. So you can see this one says Cat, this one says Kim. I'm going to click on Kim. We can see course list here. It's going to highlight all the fields, what we can do with each of the fields. There's a little gift video on how to add them, etc. So anyone who is a provisioned Courseleaf user can use the entirety of our help site. We also have videos, so if you want to spend more time, we could narrow this down by Kim. Things like the overview of Kim would be a good one. We're working on getting up like a basic training like we did today. So there may be some of that in the coming months that you could look for as well. So yes, help site, plenty there. And then we encourage our clients to have client-specific documentation. So hopefully some of that would be coming as well from within UMT.
Yes, it will be.
Perfect. Good.
Is there an 800 number we can call?
Well, generally for end users, we want you to refer questions within your team first. So contact your UMT team first. If it's not available on the help site here and you aren't finding your questions, check in with Cami and Troy. Troy and Cami can contact us as part of the support contract at any time. So if they're not able to get the answer, they can contact us and we'll get an answer back to you all via Cami and Troy. Yeah, good question.
And I'll say out loud, I'm here for all of you.
That's Troy. I guess one more question, Cami, do you see, how does this affect ASCRC subcommittee and review? Are we still, is that going to happen within Courseleaf or at least
Yes.
for
So
this
what? And actually, Sharita, this is a good time for you to show the report function, and I'll be like similar to what I do already. I'll provide you a summary with the link to the proposals that you can use to review.
Yeah, so this will be an admin feature, so Cami will have access to this. There is, oh, right, because it's not, you don't have stuff yet. I keep forgetting that. We'll go back over here to Courseleaf. And they're kind of labeled various ways, but essentially there are reports for, where is program admin? There we go. There we go. Okay. So I could choose what's in workflow. I could create a report based on anything that's in a particular step. So like the faculty senate chair, if there are specific fields that I know that the faculty senate really cares about, maybe they want the program description, for example, the program title and type, I could run this report and it's going to show me the proposals that are currently in that step. So, and then there's a link to this. So if you exported it and then Cami sends that via email, people on a committee are going to be able to click on the link and go in and view the proposal. Yeah, good questions. Anything else? Any other questions? I'm excited for you all. I hope that you will find this to be a good experience. And yeah, this has been recorded, so I'm sure it'll be available to you as you need it. And I thank you for your time today.